James.
RAF.
It's a flash-looking piece of equipment you got there on the table in front of you. What do they call that, mate?
They call that a handgun, mate.
The iPhone 15 Pro Max, I believe, in titanium. Titanium.
Look, if you reference the Apple website, you'll notice that it is aerospace grade titanium.
Mm-hmm.
So the stuff they put in planes and rockets and what have you. So put some respect on its name.
Okay. It is also the same thing they used in my new watch as well.
Oh, wow. Incredible. Wow, everyone's you're feeling like a fighter pilot right now. Apparently, there was like drop test videos that came out that apparently shows that they shatter immediately when you drop them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about whether it's quite as resilient as a spaceship.
But that's a glass issue, right? They've got to double glaze it. Maybe I should send them an email. Have you considered double glazing the glass?
Yeah, just like the windows in my share house.
Yeah.
Keeps it nice and cool in the summer.
Yeah. Well, air is the best insulation.
That's so right. Yeah.
Thank you. No, but have you used the camera?
Fleetingly. I think the only time they used the app just use the camera was at the pub before when I was taking a photo of your face.
Extreme close-ups of my face.
Yeah. I'll drop them on the
Please don't.
in the show notes. In the show notes for everyone to have a look at.
As someone who's a known Vanite.
Vanite?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would appreciate if you didn't show me like mouth agape probably spouting off on some nonsense.
Well, that's exactly what you were doing, actually.
Anyway, the camera, the photos, not on yours. The Max has got, you got your new extra optical zoom or whatever. But the iPhone 15 Pro has the same camera as the iPhone 14 Pro.
Yep.
However, it is significantly better.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does that happen?
Well, the same camera. I say the same specs. Like, we don't know exactly like pound for pound is exactly the same. It's the same megapixels, aperture, blah, 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 blah. Same specs on the physical device. However, photos are noticeably better. Well, it's because while Peter Thiel is going from bits to atoms, Apple is going from atoms to bits.
Yep.
Just came to me.
That's beautiful.
No, but it's the software realm where they're making the huge advancements. And at least Apple say like, the reason that you do have a jump in camera technology from iPhone 14 to iPhone 15 in the Pro world, even though the actual cameras themselves have the same specs, is the neural engine.
Yes. We wanted to do an episode about sort of mobile smartphone cameras and mobile photography.
And the photo. Is a photo real?
What is a photo?
Simple question.
That's how you pitched the episode to me.
Yeah.
You said, what if we do an episode, what is a photo?
I think I said, bear with me.
Yeah, you did say bear with me. Yeah. Because it is interesting because the smartphone kind of arms race that's happened over the past, 15, 16 years since the first iPhone came out. We've talked about in previous episodes about how the smartphone has essentially reached its final form.
Yeah, like we're going because there's titanium and like slightly rounded,
exactly.
more rounded edges, which kind of feels suspiciously like, I feel like this iPhone 6 or 7 or something around that era. But anyway.
The first iPhone got rid of the keyboard. It wasn't the very first phone to do that, but it was the first one to do it kind of competently and put on a keyboard that actually worked. And so from 2007, it was established that the final form of the phone is like a rectangle of black glass.
Yes.
And there's been some tinkering around the edges. Samsung are trying to get like the foldable phones going, among other things. But I think we can all basically agree that there's not much more you can do with the phone.
Yeah.
It's a rectangular slab of glass and the guts get better every year. The chips get faster. You get the 3 nanometer microprocessor that they're putting in the new iPhones, whatever. But the basic form factor is not changing.
Yeah.
Which is also why Apple's trying to getting people into VR headsets.
Yeah.
Because there's just not much you can do there. But for the average person who's not like into tech or whatever, the number one change that they're going to notice from generation to generation, aside from the screen getting a bit better, maybe battery life hopefully getting better, is the camera.
Yeah.
That's the thing that the average person cares about. When I buy a new iPhone, I want to open up the camera app, snap a picture.
Of your dog? Yep. Chuck it on the gram.
And it's going to look beautiful.
And you want some like love heart eye emojis being sent back.
Exactly. And I think there was a period there was certainly an earlier period where like the battle between, Apple and Samsung and LG, I don't know why I pulled LG out, but the other manufacturers, which are less important now, Google Pixel, was really about whose camera is better.
Yeah.
You always see like, I took this photo with my Pixel and it's so much better than the iPhone camera. Or look, my Sony Ericsson comes with a Sony Carl Zeiss lens.
Yeah.
A big proper lens. It's become less and less possible to sort of distinguish between the sensor modules on cameras because they're kind of hitting the limit of what you can cram into a device that's like less than a centimeter thick.
Yeah.
Although, the format of the iPhones now where they have like this big sort of electric stove like
I
bulge.
hate it. I like in that I said this on a really early down round, but like, why can't they move that into the middle? Why isn't it not in the middle? Okay, I'm okay with it being up on the edge if it is less than half the width. Right, the issue is, you've got the Max. I'm not a Max boy. I just keep it like sane.
Yeah.
My camera on the back of my phone takes up more than 50%. Like it goes across the halfway point.
Yeah.
I think that's too far. That's no longer in the corner. It's just like a glob.
Yep.
Like, so move it into the middle for me. There must be reasons. Maybe the friggin' designers out there are saying like, well, no. Well, I can't think of why, but I want it in the middle. Once it goes past the halfway mark, it should be in the middle.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
Anyway, there's a big conflict in the fact that consumers demand better and better photos.
And they're happy to put this huge, like, weird globby thing on the back of the camera in order, because it's more important for the photos to be fantastic, of course, than it is to have like this weird globby 3-dot stove on the back of your
Yeah. But so apparently, I was reading something. Apparently, the new iPhones, because they have a 5x zoom lens or whatever, to get that to actually work, like the light gets refracted all through the body of the phone.
Yeah.
So like the camera system kind of runs all the way through.
Yeah, it's like a periscopic lens or whatever, like a submarine.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's just this weird conflict between the fact that customers want a nice big screen, slim phone that also has a like professional tier camera system in it that takes the snaps for the gram or whatever. So the other side of the equation is you kind of hit the limit about you can do all sorts of fancy trickery to get great lenses into a device.
Yeah.
How do you actually make photos better on the other side? And the other side is software.
Yeah,
And
well, because at the end of the day, they've got 3 lenses on the back of this thing. A camera is just light hitting a thing. So it's like there's only so much light in the end that you can get to hit your lenses. So how do you make it better? Like what's the competitive advantage when like everyone has kind of maxed out what you can do within the space of 2.5 centimeters?
Yeah, so the real arms race is in the machine learning processing, which has been happening since the beginning in some capacity.
Yeah.
The idea being that you can get a certain signal from these great, nice lenses that you've got on the back of the phone, but the final product that you see and the photo that you're presented in your like camera roll app has gone through just an absurd amount of processing.
Well, it's not one photo, right? Like at the moment, if you take a photo on your iPhone, it is taking multiple, I guess, what we used to call photos and creating a pastiche and basically putting them all together, using the information and pulling them all together to then present you with what looks like one photo, but taking in all the information from like those various lenses.
Yep.
So it's not in the old days where you snap a button and then light hits a roll of film and whatever the light was is what gets presented on the film. It is a computer-generated image based on multiple points of data, like data points that are coming in through those lenses.
Yeah.
Hence the question, what is a photo?
What's a photo?
And as you said, this did start like a classic one is HDR. If you go back not even that long, like maybe 10 years or whatever, I think Apple, it was like the iPhone 4 or 5, they introduced HDR, but even then it was like pretty dog shit when it got introduced. And again, I'm sure Android photos had HDR slightly before that, but
Android phones had HDR in 1947.
Yeah, exactly. And like took 4.5 seconds for the shutter to close. Sorry, no DS, just whatever, just do your thing. Anyway, HDR. You know how the sky now looks fine when you take a photo? Like the sky
this is a recent innovation.
It's a recent innovation. Literally go back 10 years and look at the photos on Instagram and Facebook. The sky is white in like all of them.
It's like completely blown out and overexposed in every photo you take.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like complete shit. Every window is just like this white because HDR...
It takes one regular photo, one super overexposed one and one super underexposed one.
Yeah.
And then just like using software brings it all together into one image.
Yeah.
Obviously, people listening to this would be like, well, I mean, who gives a fuck? I just want it to look like what I see in the world.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We're getting into the weird point now where now that people kind of accept the fact that when I take a photo, my phone is going to do all sorts of like wizardry to it to make it look acceptable to my eye.
Yeah.
We accept some examples of when it just literally makes stuff up. So the canonical example of this, and one of the reasons that you want to do the episode, is that the Samsung like moon photography feature. Because
Moongate.
One of the classic problems of mankind that we're trying to fix, and which before we even send a rocket to Mars, is like, how come when the moon looks so sick in the sky, and I take a photo on my phone or like mobile camera, it looks like a little awful dot.
It looks like dog shit. Like every time we have like a blood red supermoon that are apparently only supposed to happen every 700 years, but like seem to happen like every 3 years, there's a different one. I know it's like a variation or whatever. I get it, science and all that. And then you try and take a happy snap. It just looks like a smear.
It's depressing, you know.
We want to fix it. But yeah, Moongate happened in March this year. Samsung were advertising that they have 10x optical zoom or whatever on their camera, but also 100x like magic zoom for space photography.
Yeah.
People were noticing in their photos how damn good the moon was looking. Like the moon was looking thick.
Yeah.
It was bussin'.
It was bussin'. Yeah.
Which led other people to be like, hold on, I think they're copy pasting the moon on top of the moon. And Samsung like, we are absolutely not copy pasting a moon on top of the moon. And people were kind of smart and were like, hold on, if I take a photo of the moon on another camera and the moon looks like it normally looks when you take a photo, it looks like shit, and then I take a photo with my Samsung of the printed out photo or the other camera's phone, all of a sudden the moon's popping again. And it's like, gotcha. Like, you're doing something with the moon.
You do it, yeah, exactly.
And they were like, yeah, we're using AI and machine learning and artificial intelligence to recognize and like bring out the detail of the moon.
Totally. So it's not quite Mid-Journey or generative AI, but it's not super far removed from it. It's like, we get what you're trying to take a photo of.
Yeah.
You're trying to get a photo of the moon in the sky. There's not much you can do with the average, like the optics that you have in your phone.
Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of like draw upon a corpus of data of what
we
the moon is.
We know the Sea of Tranquility and shit is up there. We know it. The moon is always, because of like tidal patterns or whatever, the moon's always facing the same way. We know what it's going to look like.
We've got an accumulation of images of it.
We're going to draw them out.
We can
That's
build,
how they present it.
We can just build an image of a moon for you that you've taken a photo of.
Yeah.
And obviously this kind of unsettled people to a certain extent, because it's like, you know, I wanted to get the photo of the moon that I was looking at.
Yeah.
Which looked sick, by the way.
Yeah. I didn't want your AI moon. Which, like, that was kind of a little Rubicon crossing moment. How often do you think about the Roman Empire? And an interesting one at that, because it's kind of like, and you know, we were discussing, you don't see red eye anymore. That's not necessarily all AI, but like some of it is. It's just your phone recognizes there's red eye, it removes it and fixes the eye.
Yeah.
And we're cool with that.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Like, in fact, it's better.
Yeah, red eye was, you know,
it was
sucked.
A scourge.
It's a lot of the Zoomers these days are into like that retro 90s, 2000s type photography. Like they want to capture that particular kind of like bedroom digital camera aesthetic.
Yeah.
But you notice that like the red eye is not one thing they really want to get, because the red eye does not look that good.
No, it does not look good. Does not look.
No one wants
it's
to see.
It's not bussin'.
No one wants to see like I mean, I can't remember what caused red eye. It's like your blood vessels being reflected back.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that shit.
No. I don't want to think about blood vessels in the eye.
No. Look, there was a day at some point in the past 10 years where we simply stopped seeing red eye photos.
Yeah. They just stop. Often that's just software.
It's
changing the kind of
reality. It's a combination of like software plus the fact that when you take a flash photo now, it like holds the flash for a while, so your eyes dilate properly, whatever. But yeah, a lot of it is also quote unquote AI, just removing all that stuff before it appears.
So if our phone, like already we can also, and we're used to it on Zoom and whatnot with like blemish fixing. And obviously social media, everyone puts filters on and whatever, and that's fully expected that it's like, it's totally normal to just have a little bit of a beautification kind of filter on your social media. And you know, other cameras for a while have been advertising like, oh yeah, we'll fix it so that if you've got a photo of 5 people and one of them has their eyes closed, we'll just open their eyes up.
Yeah.
I think we have already kind of accepted that we're going down this path.
I think it comes down to like this arms race, basically. This idea of like, there's a difference between, you know, this device takes the best photos in the market, is like the best camera.
Yeah.
This iPhone takes the photos that look the best. Like the photos look, I think they're two different conversations.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you're like, is this technically the best camera, or do the photos kind of look the best? And it's definitely the case that manufacturers now are more interested in like that latter category.
Yeah. Because I mean, even like with iPhone photos or whatever, that they look fantastic when you take a photo on your screen. And as I said, the advancements now are like in the neural engine, not in the actual optics itself or the sensors or whatever themselves. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Caveat, there are still advancements in the sensors, I'm sure. But
There
like,
are.
realistically, that.
There are, but there's diminishing returns.
And so whatever, you take a photo and it looks fantastic on your iPhone. As soon as you zoom in, it doesn't look good anymore. Like you start to see all the weird blurring
Artifacts and
and the
whatever.
artifacts of like, they are transposing. Because this is another thing with your phone. Like on an iPhone, when you open up the camera and you're seeing things through the viewfinder, it is saving every single thing it's seeing and like bringing that data. Before you like press the photo button, it's saving all of that information already. And then it'll either use it to like fix whatever photos or videos you take, or you can see in the live photos that like that's an obvious example that it's like filming either side of it and using the data to enhance and then eventually dumping it. But you can see when you zoom in that actually this isn't like, it's not sharp when you zoom in. It's just really sharp, like looking at it on a phone like normally. And yeah, you can see those kind of like, it's a computer at work here.
Yeah, but there's an interesting kind of like business market angle to it as well. When you look at like the broader camera market, casting your mind back again before smartphone cameras became ubiquitous, and you know that thesis of like the best camera you can have is the one that's with you at all times.
Yeah,
is sort of like the philosophy of mobile photography. You know, you would have a digital camera, and you could buy like your consumer tier ones, which was like from whichever providers.
Sony PowerShot.
Get your Sony PowerShot, and all the cheap brands. Obviously, disposable cameras had their role as well. And now they're kind of more like a novelty. And then you could go up to sort of the entry-level Canons and like Sony cameras, which were aimed at kind of like the prosumer market, where it was like, you know, I'm an average person, but I kind of want to take nice photos. And I'm interested in getting into taking photos that are of a higher quality than off-the-shelf digital cameras or like, you know, entry-level ones.
The lenses got bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And then you obviously had like your top-tier professional cameras.
Yeah. SLRs, huge lenses.
Yeah. Obviously, that entry-level market has just been obliterated.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even know if you could get one if you tried. I'm sure they do sell them, but I assume they're all kind of like knockoff Chinese brands that are like in that $100 to $200 range.
Yeah, like all for kids.
They're basically for kids, because the market for like an average person who wants to take photos is completely looked after by iPhones, which have much better looking photos than those cameras ever did.
Of course.
Right? So as a result, the actual camera market only really markets to two segments. One, prosumers, who are the people, but they kind of have a different mindset. It's not like I want to take nice photos. It's I would like to be a photographer.
Yeah.
Like I want to do the job of going around and taking photos and then editing them in like software.
Yeah.
I want to like take artistic things. You're not buying them just to take it around to like family events to photograph things.
To bash it up on Instagram.
No, you want to become a photographer.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the pro tier where it's like, you know, I'm actually doing this for a job and I need the latest and greatest and the best quality lenses and whatever, high quality cameras. So as a result, phones own everything else.
Yeah.
The desire of that kind of person, they don't care about megapixels. They don't care about really anything except I want to look good.
I want to look good, and I want to also be able to I expect to be able to take this out of my pocket and take a photo anywhere, in a dark nightclub, in a massively sunny space. I want to take it of my face. I want to be able to flip it around, take it of view, and I want it to always look good, and I want the moon to look amazing.
I want the moon to look big and juicy and radiant. And that's it. And so like that creates like a completely different set of incentives for like the people who develop camera systems for smartphones.
Yeah.
Because they're not thinking at all like, how do I capture precisely what's in front of me?
No.
They're thinking, how do I make something that looks really, really good? And even if that means, as you say, like all the tricks of like capturing stuff at all times, stitching together an image from a million different images of varying, and which iPhones do, and I think a lot of Android phones do in a much more like intense way, is like from the get-go doing like the blemish removal and making your face look smooth as possible.
Well, yeah, like recognizing what the photo is, because that's what people have to understand. Like when you're taking a photo on your phone, it is immediately like recognizing everything in it, and then it has the capability to be like, how can I use like machine learning and AI to like make that thing in the image look as good as possible? That's what Samsung was doing to a very explicit degree with regards to the moon and literally, recognizing the different crevices and whatever and making them pop or whatever. But like every phone is completely capable of that. I mean, we've spoken. I was like, the question was like, what is a photo or whatever? But like, the reality is, people have already decided that a photo is just like when I press a button, whatever looks mad. Like that's what the photo is.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
And people don't care. And we're only gonna like. I bring it up now because it's like it's only going to get more. Like every piece of photo and video and whatever we take and then or consume, more likely, like everything you consume is going to be more and more influenced by the computer.
Yeah, I think so too. And like the juncture we're at right now is that generative AI stuff is getting better. We've been talking about Midjourney in the past. OpenAI just announced DALL-E 3, which they announced last week or over the weekend rather, which is like fully integrated into ChatGPT and comes with like OpenAI's really sophisticated like language and sentiment analysis. So you can like, rather than doing like the Midjourney prompting, which is annoying kind of like technical nerd stuff, you can just write it out in super plain language and it produces the images for you.
Yeah.
That stuff is getting better and better and better quite rapidly. So it's like, where photography sits in a world where like someone can just create any image they want.
Yeah.
And the average consumer can be like, make me an image of a beautiful panoramic photo of the Grand Canyon. And like, what's the value for a person who's actually at the fucking Grand Canyon?
Yeah, taking the photo. Like, I think it's this thing as well where like, you know, kind of 20 years ago, you'd be like, what? Like, people just share their lives to strangers on the internet. They just take photos and just post it willy-nilly about like what they're doing. That's bizarre. Like, no, that world will never exist. And, you know, it would be seen as weird or whatever to be on Instagram every day posting stories to the world. Yeah, in 10 years' time, the normalized thing will be like photos/videos or whatever are just like, oh yeah, like the computer fixes it all and does all things. And like the environment in which that photo was taken is not the actual environment, but like that's just normal. All pretense to reality has been kind of forgotten.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously I do exaggerate a bit in the sense that, like, if you actually went on a holiday to the Grand Canyon, you're going to want the photos that you actually took there so you can look at them.
But it wouldn't. It would, in a few years' time, you'll go to the Grand Canyon and you'll take a photo and it'll just like, it'll recognize that you're at the Grand Canyon. It'll make everything way sharper. It'll make like the weather more stunning. You know, maybe it'll add a beautiful like hawk or whatever they have over there. You know, is it eagles flying through the canyon?
Yeah, a bald eagle screeching through the frame.
Oh, but it'll bring out, like, maybe it'll notice some birds and it'll bring out the detail in the friggin' birds and
the beautiful
and remove the tourists, you know.
Remove the other tourists. And the beautiful thing is you'll look at it and be like, that's exactly how it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. We're giving ourselves schizophrenia by looking at these AI-enhanced photographs.
Yeah. Because that's the way you want to reflect, you know, your own personal reality. And maybe that's fine.
Yeah, maybe.
And any trying to kind of relate it to, like, the real world is fully seen as overly sentimental.
Yeah. Wow. You're writing a little Blade Runner riff here.
Am I? Never seen it.
Oh, that's right. You don't watch movies.
No. I guess the thing, though, like, we have to kind of come to grips with is, like, okay, if I take a photo of my kids at, you know, age 2 and 4 or whatever, in 10 years' time, am I going to be, like, looking back on, like, AI versions of my kids, basically, where, yeah, the blemishes, like cuts or whatever removed, or, you know, their teeth have whitened and their eyes been opened, like, or do I just want to see my kids' eyes and like what my kids were doing in that circumstance? Like, that's the kind of question we need to ask ourselves. And no one cares, as I said. Like, we've made, as I said, we already have the answer. No, we want to see them looking radiant and godlike, like little
even as you say it, I'm like, I don't care about that.
Exactly.
You want to see a photo of your two kids there. They've got like big, wide open, like puppy dog eyes, which are just like completely different color to what their actual eyes are.
Yeah.
And behind them is a giant fucked up moon. Like a giant
huge,
giant red blood moon.
But the question becomes even more when it's like, again, your phone, your beautiful iPhone 15 Pro Max has the capability of taking like the 3D videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it comes in October.
It gets added the feature to do like the Vision Pro stuff. Yeah.
But that's then the next world of kind of personal media or whatever is like, this being able to film kids' birthday parties and then
you wear the big
wear the goggles and then relive, you know, the 5th birthday in VR. That is going to be relying so heavily on AI to actually
fill in the gaps and
fill in all of the gaps when you're taking it from like a single plane kind of camera. And so like that will be fantasy from the get-go. That's computer created.
Yeah.
If that is the future world in 10, 20 years when we consume all content in like a more kind of immersive environment, then Reality is gone. I'm calling it.
You're bearish on reality
Yeah.
and the human interpretation of
Or
reality.
this replication of reality. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it never existed. A lot of people will argue it's like, yeah, but cameras are always fucked. Like it being blown, the sky being blown out was an error. You know, that wasn't reality. I mean, it's
No.
reality of like the photons hitting
Yeah.
the lens, but
But it doesn't reflect what we see with our eyes. No, I agree. But I think all the stuff you're talking about is definitely coming down the pipeline, and all this stuff is going to continue to escalate. And you know, I think generations coming up now, this is just what photos look like to them, and so they're more than happy to accept that. But so I think the near future sort of consequences for like again smartphones and like every new smartphone having to have a cool new camera system or whatever. It's completely left the realm of like my Samsung actually has a better lens system than the iPhone. It's just becoming increasingly irrelevant. It's just like whatever cool little software tricks they can put in there to make you look at it and be like, damn, that photo really pops.
yeah, totally.
Is what photography is now.
Well, I mean, they refer to this cameras, as 48 megapixel. It's not 48 megapixel lenses. It's two 24 megapixel lenses stitched together. And yeah, you're right. Like no one cares about those numbers anymore. Don't care that explicitly like, oh yeah, no, it's software. Like it's 48 megapixel software kind of camera, whatever kind of pops. Maybe you Zoomer listeners that we have out there, the ones of you who still smoke weed, like I know it's not cool anymore or whatever, fair enough. I don't smoke weed either. But, you know, next time like hits blunt, you know a photo isn't really a photo, man. You know, maybe have that conversation.
You had that conversation with you and your weird little friends.
It's two photos.
It's every bit of human possibility and some algorithmic magic sort of like coalescing into a single image that's as fake as a painting you would see in a gallery.
Yeah.
And then just like hit that blunt as hard as you can. Just suck it into your guts.
If you're listening to this, did you know there's another world out there where you get a second episode of Down Round a week?
Yep. It's called Down Round Premium.
That's right. And there's no interruptions.
No interruptions, no ads, 2 episodes a week, including the free one you're getting right now, plus another one.
Yeah. $7 a month, not a week, a month. Downround.net. Downround.net. Instant access to the whole back catalogue as well. You've got so much to catch up on.
There's so much. Get around it.